So we were speaking about this idea that when one studies Torah, since he's enclothing himself really with the divine, as we mentioned, then not only does it protect him during the time he's studying, but also after the time he's studying, as if he has this constant shield with him. Now, of course, we said that the study of Torah is not just in theory, even though that is also a very strong part of Torah. One can study Torah just in theory and still fulfill the mitzvah. But also the study of Torah that we're referring to here also is a study of Torah via action, which is maybe a more elevated type of study. But in any case, whether one studies Torah with the mind or one studies Torah with action, then again, he creates for himself a shield that protects him throughout his life. I think it's consistent with this idea. I don't know if we've mentioned it before, but there's an idea also in Kabbalah that with every mitzvah that a person does, an angel is created. And this angel stays with the person forever, not just in this world, but in the world to come. And in a way, that angel or those angels of the mitzvot that the person fulfilled in this world, then also serve as advocates for the person in the world to come. When a person transitions from this world to the next, and he comes with all these angels, and these angels stand as a testimony to the goodness of the person in this world. What's interesting is that when one fulfills, God forbid, a sin, then also Kabbalah teaches that a bad angel is created. But with teshuvah, with repentance, one is able to erase those angels altogether. Now, just to add to this, and Ronnie, I can see you raising your hand, but just to add to this, I want to add what the Baal Shem, it's important to add what the Baal Shem Tov, the founder of the Hasidic movement, would say about this. That is that he has no doubt that every single Jew goes to paradise, whether he has bad angels or good angels. Why? Because he knows for a fact that no Jew does a sin with his entire heart. Which also means that when you do something not with your entire heart, you created really a disabled angel, because it represents the lack of heart that you had. On the other hand, he also knows that when we do a mitzvah, most of the time we do it with all of our heart, which creates good angels. So the amount of healthy angels versus the amount of unhealthy angels is disproportionate, and therefore those unhealthy angels really don't stand a chance against the good, healthy angels, and therefore everyone merits paradise. Ronnie, what did you want to say? Go for
it. So the angels protect us from what?
Oh, good question. So it protects us from bad. Now, is all bad? That's a good question. Is it only bad that, that is light, or is it harsh bad degrees? Is it, Coca-Cola Zero or pure Coca-Cola? I don't know. But I think it depends also on the thickness of your shield, which means that it depends also a lot on your Torah study and your mitzvahs and your actions. Not just the multitude of them, but also the quality of them, as mentioned.
So it is in theory, but well, we can go on, please.
Yes. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No. It's another discussion.
Okay, fine. Okay, but that's what study is about. More and more. Okay, fine. Okay, Ronnie, if it comes to mind, if that thought comes to mind and you think you can share it.
Well, I can share it now.
Go ahead, share it.
So does it protect us in the physical world or in the spiritual world?
That is a good question. So it protects us, we believe, in both. Remember, we quoted the Talmud that speaks about Jacob, who was in the house of Laban, and he studied there. He studied there. Vatidad shnati me'enai. He says, the verse says that I didn't sleep for 21 years. And the commentaries also explain that that's the reason is because during the day he had to work, and at night he had to study. So once he left the house of Laban, Esav, his brother, still wanted to kill him. But the Talmud states that all of the Torah that he studied during those years, protected him even after he left the house, even after he left that study. So it protects us even after the study, but also even in this world, from the bad in this world.
It's another interesting discussion, one that's in theory, but in reality, I see it doesn't happen.
Right. Well, that goes back to your initial question. What bad does it protect you from?
Right.
So I think that we have no understanding in. That's God's department. But
I thought you worked in that department.
well, yeah. But like you, I'm not privy to a lot of rooms.
It's an interesting discussion for another time.
That's right. But you do remind me of the way King David passed away, as the Talmud also explains. It's an interesting passage in the Talmud that speaks about how King David knew that the study of the Torah can protect you. When you study Torah, it protects you even more than after you study, right? Because you're in the act of connecting with God. And therefore, he also knew, God told him how many years he will live. God did not tell him, even though he wanted. God did not tell him exactly when he will die. So on his 70th year, he also knew that he would die on a Shabbat. So he's on his 70th year, every Shabbat he would study Torah. Part of the reason he would study Torah is so that the angel of death could not come and take him. Now, one day, the angel of death, one Shabbat, the angel of death came to take him. It was the time for King David to leave. But he was studying Torah. So he couldn't, because the study of the Torah protects you from death. You know, especially when you study. Afterwards, it's a different question, but when you study. And the angel of death, they don't know what to do. He has a mission to fulfill, but King David, he's studying. So he's immune. So he had a good idea. He went to a tree next to King David and moved it, shook it. King David stopped his study for a second to see what was happening to the tree. As soon as he stopped his study,
Got him.
that's when the angel of death came and took him.
Hmm.
But it's another story that, again, teaches us that the study of Torah protects you, especially while you are studying.
For me, it protects my soul.
Right.
My physical body, I don't know, but my soul, I believe that.
Very good. Very good. If only that it provides us with the ability to see things differently and therefore to live life more meaningfully. And that in of itself is a protection that's worthwhile. Yeah. Okay, so let's continue here. As Margot mentioned, at the bottom of page 137. Thus it has been said, right, Margot?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Does anyone want to read?
Sure, I'll read.
Thank you, Margot. Go for it.
Okay. Thus it has been said, better is 1 hour of repentance and good deeds in this world than a whole life of the world to come. Only in this physical world can one perform a mitzvah and thus unite with the divine will and wisdom, which is a revelation of the divine essence. For the world to come is that state where one enjoys the glow of the divine presence, Ziv Hashkina, which is the pleasure of apprehension. No created being, even of the celestial, can apprehend more than some reflection of the divine light.
Right. Continue.
The world to come is a spiritual world, and thus on a higher plane than our physical reality. In the words of our sages, in the world to come, there is no eating or drinking, no reproduction, no business dealings. Rather, the righteous sit with their crowns on their heads and enjoy the glow of the Shekhinah, divine presence. Enjoying the glow of the Shekhinah, explains the author, is the pleasure derived from the apprehension, grasp, understanding of divinity. But any apprehension, be it intellectual or emotional, is by definition a finite and definitive thing. Even if we were speaking of apprehension by a holy spiritual being, such as an angel or a disembodied soul that has achieved its ultimate level of purity and refinement.
Right. So I would draw an analogy based on this that maybe describes or illustrates what the difference is between this world and the world to come. So in this world, we're on the stage of God. And God is on that stage with us too. Each time we do a mitzvah, we're hugging God, as the Tanya itself says. Now, there may be many layers that God is wearing and that we are wearing as we hugging God, but the hug is the same hug. And we're on the stage, able to truly, fully interact with God. In the world to come, we're a spectator of that stage. The world to come goes and enjoys the presence of God that is on that stage, enjoys the radiance of God that is on that stage, or enjoys, like it says, the Ziva Shechina, which is the glow. How do you translate it? Yeah, the glow of the divine presence. So we're able to enjoy it. And as you know, a good theater, if it's a good play, then you enjoy it. You come out, you know, very, very satisfied. But it's not the same as being on the stage and being able to hug God on that stage and being able to partner with God on that stage in creating this play called life. Now, how do we partner really with God? By doing mitzvahs or by studying Torah. And that's why, again, going back to that phrase from the ethics of our fathers, better is 1 hour of repentance and good deeds in this world and the whole life of the world to come, because just 1 hour of being on that stage is incomparable, really, to being on as part of the spectators just watching this play. You're there truly uniting with God. There is no such opportunity in the world to come. And that's why, as long as a person lives, he should really cherish and appreciate all of the opportunities he has to be one with God, to be on that stage, because once it's over, it's over. Yogi Berra said it ain't over until it's over. But once it's over, it's over. So, and what's over is those opportunities really to unite with God. Now, it's never too late. And that's what's interesting. And that's why you have many stories in Talmud itself also, and many other stories of people who did teshuvah. And with that 1 hour of teshuvah at the very end of their lives, they were able to unite with God in such a way that unity now remains forever, is, you know, makes up for all the time missed, so to speak. And it's something that really we should again cherish. I know we've mentioned the example, but when we go to a cemetery, right, if you have your tzitzis out, you should tuck them in, because again, the souls are jealous. Souls in the cemetery are jealous of you being able to perform a mitzvah, being on that stage, being one with God through that mitzvah. So you don't want to make them too jealous, so you hide your mitzvah a little bit. But that's not an opportunity they have in the world to come, because again, they're spectators there. Ronnie, yes.
For me, I look at it as the vibrational frequency that our soul gets to, especially at the very end. If you're finally doing teshuvah, you're changing the whole frequency of what you are. And that frequency then allows you to vibrate at the same frequency as to get to the ultimate.
Right. Very good. I think in a way it's very much that, but it's also, in a way, it's a physical connection too. I mean, physical and spiritual, right? But you need the physical.
But can you, without having, it's like a radio. If you don't have the right frequency, you can't tune into it.
Right.
So it's a tuning for me that you're doing.
Right. In a way, sometimes it tunes itself by itself. When you do that mitzvah, then
absolutely.
Right.
Rabbi.
Yes, please, William.
I would say this. First of all, nobody from the Olam Haba ever came back to tell us what is there. And I remember studying a rabbinic tale, actually it's in the Talmud, that this pious person was told by the Melech HaMavet, the angel of death, that he was going to soon be taken to the Olam Haba. So this man said, well, I'd like to just see where I'm going to be. So the angel of death took him to the gate of the Olam Haba, and he took the sword of the angel and he jumped over the fence. And he's the only man in the Talmud who ever went to the Olam Haba and was alive. And I remember I asked the rabbi, well, did anybody ever jump over the fence and come back. So the point I want to make is, as far as the Olam Haba, there's a lot of discussion about it, but I think it's a lot of speculation, a lot of fantasy. We do not know. We have no knowledge of it whatsoever. That's
Right.
all I have to say.
No, that's fine. That's fine. But for this, and we can discuss that. But for this discussion particularly, so I'm reminded really to relate to what you just said of the passage in the Talmud in the Tractate of Shabbat, where there's a discussion of what happened when Moses was about to receive the Torah on behalf of the Jewish people, because the angels were jealous. When God decided to give the Torah to the Jewish people, Moses went up to receive it, and the angels saw Moses, so they went to God and they said, "Hey, Mali Yiludi Shabeinenu, what is a human being that was born from a woman, made of flesh and blood, doing among us?" And God said to receive the Torah. He came here to receive the Torah, and the angels got very jealous. What are you going to do? Why are you giving the Torah to people that are filled with failures, to human beings? And they said to him, they quoted the verse, Ala shamayim kvodod, that really the honor of God is only in the heavens. So God said to Moses, you respond to the angels. I'm not going to respond to them. But Moses very powerfully turned to the angels and said, well, let's look at the Torah. In the Torah, it says that we came out of Egypt. Did you go down to Egypt? In the Torah, it says that you have to respect your parents. Do you have a father? Do you have a mother? The Torah doesn't apply to you at all. This applies to human beings. So the Torah has to be given to us. And he won that argument. And that's when God said, okay, sorry, got to give it to the human beings. Now, why am I saying this? Because it's true, maybe no one went and came back. Even though I do believe that, people who are, like Ronnie was saying, fully in tune, have a sense of the spiritual world, and maybe those people are able to describe it a little bit more than I can. I don't know about you here, but the idea here is more powerful than that, and that is that God is telling us, here is the Torah with which you can connect to me. This Torah was given to you because it speaks of a father and a mother. It speaks of the human condition. It speaks of working with the human condition. So that's strong enough of a hint to know that the connection with God can be made specifically through our blood, through our flesh, through our humanity. And if we were in another world, then that connection, that same intensity of connection cannot be made. Because again, that's not what the Torah is aiming to do.
What is the Torah aiming to do?
To connect with the human being, with all of his flaws, with all of his imperfection.
And in that connection, where does it bring that human being?
So it elevates not just the human being, but in a way it elevates the soul of the human being. When the soul comes here and fulfills indeed its mission, it's elevated. And then in a way, its connection with God becomes much deeper than it ever was. It's almost like a relationship. In a relationship, I can be married to my wife, or I can be the son of my parents, or I can be the sibling of my brothers and sisters. But it depends on me on how deep I want that relationship to be. I can be a complete stranger to my wife, or I can be very intimate with my wife. I can be a complete stranger to all of the other relationships I have. Nonetheless, they are relationships. Still married, still the son of my parents, but each time I do something for them and they in a way do something for me, not for me, towards me, then that relationship deepens. And that's the opportunity really that's given to the soul here in this world. We are given the Torah, and in the Torah it says, here, let's get together. Or as the Zohar says so beautifully, I mean, it's just a beautiful expression. It says, Ani ve'at bilchudohi, which means me and you in complete unity. Let's unite. Let's be intimate. That's really the opportunity that we have in this world. in the world to come, there's no Torah. So, I mean, you can still study Torah, and everything, but there's no opportunity to truly fulfill the Torah, to unite, therefore, with God, to play on that stage. And therefore, the intimacy is not as strong as it can be achieved here in this world. So, yes, William, good point. I mean, no one has been there and come back to tell us exactly how it is. But we have very, very strong indications from the Torah itself that there is an opportunity here in this world by respecting our parents, like Moses was saying, and other things. That, again, these are things that only belong to us to truly unite with God.
And Rabbi, how does this concept reconcile with other thoughts about souls being recycled, so to speak? Soul correction and
right.
coming.
Yeah, the reincarnation, which is really a subject that the Arizal, Rabbi Yitzchak Luria, spoke about a lot, especially in his book called Shara Gilgulim, The Gates of Reincarnation. It's the name of his book. But the idea of reincarnation is that a person comes back. And we don't know, again, these are measurements that are performed solely by God. We have no idea of how this works. But souls that did not fulfill their mission fully come back to this world. Sometimes only a part of the soul comes back, as Rabbi Yitzchak Luria says, not the entire soul. Most of the time, only a part of the soul comes back and is given a second chance. Sometimes a third chance, sometimes a fourth chance. A person can come back many times to this world until it fulfills its mission. Now, that's an indication, I believe, that again, that stage is only here in this world. Because if you were able to have the same unity with God, to achieve that same connection in the world to come, why would you need to come back?
Mm-hmm.
But so again, this idea is based exactly on what the Tanya is saying here, that the ability to fulfill our mission to unite with God is only in this world. Otherwise, we wouldn't need to come back. Yes, Rabbi Eisen.
I don't mean this to be, I hope you take it the right way.
No, please.
But I'm reading this and listening to this, and I'm wondering, what is it really all about? If I were smart enough or observant enough to really be able to understand
Well, let me
what
stop
this,
you right there, which you are both. Observant
No.
enough, not enough.
you know,
Yeah.
but to really understand this and find it a piece of my life and my modus operandi, the motivation for how I live. Some of it is either, first of all, it teaches a great deal of humility, but also is somewhat demoralizing, because in some ways it's saying, you know what, try your best, do whatever you want. That little schlub over there sitting, in the back has really got a better chance than you, because it's, as wise and as righteous as you are, you don't have, you don't have the merit as a chut to stand next to the repentant sinner. Okay, there's one mitzvah and he's greater than you. You just do them. And then me, the schlub, reads that, I don't understand what's going on, and I see this great tzaddik over here really I don't have a chance to be like that person. So how do you balance that? How do you put it all together?
So you mean a person that maybe wasn't the best all his life, and then in 1 hour does the shuvah, and then all of a sudden he's greater than you? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, often it says that, if I do one mitzvah and I do it wholeheartedly, I'm greater, more righteous than the person that's been striving to live as a Baal Torah their whole life.
Well, right. So I'll say two things. First, that measuring stick, so to speak, is only in the hands of God. We don't know. Sometimes we do one little mitzvah in the eyes of God, it's considered to be great. And sometimes we do one massive mitzvah in the eyes of God, it's no big deal. We don't know. So we really don't know how God measures the person that is as devout as could be all his life versus the person who did the shuvah just 1 hour, and then like it says here, and then merits everything that is greater than the world to come. That measuring stick is in the hands of God, and we really don't know. It's almost like Rabbi Steinzas once told me that you were appointed to work, not to reap the results. We have to do what we have to do. God will measure eventually, the merits that we've amassed, and there were merits maybe that we have not amassed. That's one. Two, the teshuvah that we're speaking about here, to be exact, also, that 1 hour of repentance is not just, oh God, I'm sorry, let me move on, but it's really a transformation. It's in a way a teshuvah that changes the person so deeply that the person that he was, that sinned, he doesn't recognize anymore. He looks back, that wasn't me. That's the type of teshuvah that we're really speaking about. It's almost like, the very tragic story of Reish Lakish, another incredible story of the Talmud. I know you know Rabbi Eisen, but Reish Lakish was a bandit who was known for his tremendous physical strength. One day, Rabbi Yochanan was swimming in a river somewhere in Israel, and he saw this bandit, Reish Lakish, jumping from one side of the river to the next. And Rabbi Yochanan was so amazed. He said to him, your strength should go towards Torah. If your strength goes towards Torah, you'll be the greatest scholar. Reish Lakish says, and what will you give me? What's in it for me? And Rabbi Yochanan says, look, you see how handsome I am? Well, I have a sister that's so much more beautiful than me. I'll convince her to marry you if you devote all your strength to the Torah. He said, deal. They got married. Reish Lakish devoted his entire strength to the Torah. In fact, at one point, he tried to jump from one side of the river to the other like he did when he was a man, and he wasn't able to. The Torah deducts from that Torah mateshet kocha shel adam, that the Torah makes you weak if you devote your strength fully. But at one point, much later on, the Rabbi Yochanan Reish Lakish, who was studying Torah every day, were discussing this type of arrow and whether it can become impure or not. And then Rabbi Yochanan innocently turns to Reish Lakish and he says to him, you should know, you were once upon a time a bandit. You should know what type of arrow this is. And Reish Lakish was so deeply insulted because he told Rabbi Yochanan basically that, well, that person is not me anymore. That's the transformation we're speaking about. But he was so deeply insulted that he eventually died from this hurt, this emotional hurt. Rabbi Yochanan was so hurt that he hurt his student like that, unintentionally, of course, and so hurt that now his prized student is no longer there. A prized student who, as he said, would ask him 24 questions every day, every class. And now no one asks him questions, or maybe one question he gets a class. So he was so hurt by that he died from that hurt. It's a tragic end of Rabbi Yochanan Reish Lakish. But I'm remembering the story again because, again, this is a story in which this complete transformation is well demonstrated. So that's not as easy as just, someone saying, all right, I'm sorry, let's move forward. But that's the big idea. And really, why? Because again, when someone connects to Hashem in such a way, that transformation, that bond, that connection is much deeper than any other opportunity that a person may have, including the world to come. Yeah. I'll also mention that, it's interesting because the word Shekhinah is used here. So Shekhinah, which means divine presence. And so the Tanya, based on many works of Kabbalah, speaks of this world as the world in which the Shekhinah dwells. Why? Because God desired to dwell in this world. That's what it says. That God desired to dwell in this world. So really, God dwells in this world. Sometimes we have to peel this world in order to see God. And sometimes we see him immediately. And there are places, I believe, in this world, I think like the Kotel or moments in this world, like times, on Yom Kippur, in which the Shekhinah appears to us with its full magnificence. But otherwise, sometimes we have to really peel it. But the Shekhinah dwells in this world. In the world to come, there's Ziva Shekhinah, only the light of the Shekhinah. But that's not where God dwells. It's almost like going to a palace. You're searching for a king. So you know where he dwells. That's the room in which he dwells. The rest of the palace might have the light of his Shekhinah, but that's not where God is. In this world, this is where we can get intimate with God. That world is the palace. It's nice, but it's not where God dwells. That's what Shekhinah means in Hebrew. Shekhinah shochen means to dwell. it's a revolutionary idea. But if we know that, if we think that with all of the bad in this world, with all of the evil, with all of the pandemics, with all of the problems we have, God dwells here.
And it's not a physical dwelling, isn't it? Is it?
No,
It's a
of course
spiritual
not.
dwelling.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So it's something that, you know, should in a way shake us. I'll conclude with this, but I remembered this yesterday because I once asked Rabbi Steinsaltz what his goal in life is. And, you know, he has that famous slogan of "Let my people know," but that's the nice, catchy goal. But he put it differently that time I asked him. He said, my goal in life is the same goal as Socrates, the philosopher, had. I said, what's the connection? He said that Socrates said that his goal as a philosopher is to be the gadfly of society. He tries to be the gadfly of society too. What's a gadfly? People that sink in their comfort zone and all of a sudden, you know, you try to sleep and you have that fly. It happens when you go camping. Bzzz, like wakes you up. Hey, there's a life out there. Go live it. So that's what he tries to do. And in a way, this is what I think the Tanya is trying to do here. Telling us, hey, wake up. Wake up. The Shekhinah is here. It's here. So let's live fully and meaningfully.